What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be creating this 3D mockup that is currently available on my store. If you don't have the money to purchase it, you can just follow along with this tutorial. I'll show you the exact step-by-steps. Everything that is used in this video is free, so there's no money that you have to spend. You just have to spend some time obviously creating the product. So let's get into it. The first thing you want to do is download a few things from my store. It is free, so you don't have to buy this. You can just add this to your cart. In this folder, we have a rug, a hanger, and a clothing stand, as well as a Photoshop file for the rug to customize it. Once you've downloaded that, you're also going to need Blender, which is a free 3D application, as well as Photoshop. If you don't have a Photoshop license, you can use Photopea, which is a free-to-use version of Photoshop online. And then you're going to need CLO3D. So there is a 30-day free trial, so you can just sign up and you can get that for free. Once you've downloaded Blender and opened it up, you want to press A on your keyboard and delete everything in the scene. This will just clear everything and we can start from scratch. The first thing we're going to do is append the rug. So let's go File, Append, go to that downloaded file from my site and click on the rug and hit Append, and then you're going to go into Objects and hit Rug. This will bring in a rug, which is going to be just some like added aesthetics. So from here, we're going to add in our hanger. So let's go Import FBX, and then we're going to import the hanger. If you press G on your keyboard and just press Z and bring it up, you'll have your hanger there. And then we're also going to add the clothing hanger. So let's press Import FBX and then go clothing stand. Now if you don't want to use these exact ones, you can go to Turbo Squid. There are some free to use products off there, so you can just type in like hanger and you should be presented with some clothing hangers to use. You can go to your pricing and just go free, and then you should get something. If you don't want to use the ones that I use, you can do this for the clothing rack as well. Once everything has been imported, we're going to start setting up our scene. So we can press Shift A and add a plane, just scale this up. Then we can drag on the left here just to open up another scene and you can go View and make sure we're on the front view, and then we're going to press Shift A and add a camera to our scene. So let's go add camera, and then we can press G and Z and just bring the camera up, and we're going to change to the camera view. So let's go View, Cameras, Set Active Camera, and now we got the camera view. So we've got to set up a wall. So let's go to our other scene, and we're going to press Shift D to duplicate, followed by R, X, and then 90 just to rotate the wall. And let's bring it back a bit. And then we're going to start positioning our hanger as well as our clothing stand. So let's click on the clothing stand, press G followed by Y, and just bring it back into frame. And then we can click on the camera and press G followed by Y and bring it back a bit, like so. That looks good. And then let's reposition this rug, G again followed by Y, and just bring it into the scene. Now if your computer is battling with this rug, we're going to go into our particles, and we're just going to hide the real-time particles because this affects it quite a bit. We can press R followed by Z and just rotate it a bit. I'm going to go to View, Top View, and just reposition this so it's not like so perfect, and scale it down. That looks cool. Then we're going to play around with the hanger now. For the hanger, there's two objects in it, so we must make sure we've selected both of them, and we can press G and Y and just bring it closer to our hanger. We're going to open up another view here just so that we can get the top view and bring it as close to our hanger as possible, and we can go to front view just so we can see that everything is good. Looks good. Top view is almost aligned. And then we're going to click on our little hook and press R followed by Z and just rotate this so that it's more realistic. And we can see here that it's not quite in the middle, so let's press on the bottom hanger and bring that down. And we're going to shift that a bit. That looks good. Okay, once we have that all set up, we can go into our preview, our camera preview, and go to view shader materials. So the first thing you'll notice is that it's very flat. There's no lighting that we've added in, so we're going to add that in now. But before we do that, we're going to go to our render settings and change our max samples to 64. And let's set denoise. And we can set our renderer, that was our viewport, we can set our renderer to 128 with denoise. That'll just help us view our lighting a lot better and quicker. So we're going to go back to our top view on the bottom left here. I'm going to press Shift A and add a light. We're going to use the area light, and we're going to bring this up and rotate it along the y-axis by 90 and bring this across like so. And then we can just bring it a little bit closer to the wall and bring it up and rotate it down. We're going to try and make it look as best like a natural light. We can increase this light by going down to data and set the power to about 1000. It will be very strong at first, so you can just adjust it to whatever you prefer. Let's keep it at 500 and then bring it back and rotate it a bit like so. And then we're going to add like a little fake window here. Doesn't have to be detailed or anything because it's just for like added contrast in the scene. So we're going to copy this wall, press Shift D and rotate it by 90 degrees. And then we can position it back a bit and actually scale it down until we're happy. And then we can scale it some more and then go into edit mode. So from here, we're going to press Ctrl R and just add 2 extra lines. We're going to use the edge tool to extrude the top and the bottom. So let's press E followed by Y and just extrude it like so. Then we can go back to our vertex selection and just join these 2 vertices by pressing F. Go back to the edge mode and just select those edges and extrude it one more time along the Y axis. Then we have our window. Now what we can do is just reposition this window and light a little bit closer to the wall like so. I'm actually going to turn off my denoise. Can turn off the denoiser for viewport viewing actually. I prefer how it looks. So you'll notice in the scene the carpet here is a little bit skew. So let's click on the carpet, go to edit mode and click on our vertices. And using the proportional editor, we're just going to bring this down a bit. So it's kind of bringing down the whole object. So if we scroll on our scroll wheel, we can just make that a little bit smaller and bring it down until we're happy. That looks cool. Now for the particles, you'll see that doesn't really look like a rug at the moment. That's because we turned off this particle system. So if we go back to a real-time viewport material and turn it on, you'll see in this viewport that it looks like there's hair, and the same thing applies there. Now you can adjust the hair length to whatever you want. So if you click down to hair length and set it to maybe like a 2, should get a little bit of a change once it's updated. Looks a little bit better. I prefer it like that. So let's just save this file for now. Save as how to. You can save it as whatever you want. And I'm gonna hide this little preview again just so the computer doesn't struggle too much. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is animate the hanger for when we take it into CLO. So we've already got our hook set up and everything like that. So to animate the hanger itself, we can go down to our little timeline here. On our first frame, we can press R followed by Z and hit apply. If a keyframe doesn't apply here, you can click on this little auto keying and then press R followed by Z again just to make it apply. So we've got our first keyframe there. I'm actually going to rotate this a little bit more. So let's make it like about here. And then we're going to go, you can make it however long you want, but I'm going to make it, let's just do for this video, I'm going to make it 5 seconds at 30 frames per second. So to make sure it is at 30, we can go to our output and just set frame rate to 30. And then we can go back to our hanger, press R followed by Z and just rotate it. So you can decide how much you want to rotate it by. I'm just going to make it rotate a little bit. And if we go on our timeline here and play it, you can see that there's a little bit of movement there. So we're going to do the same thing and copy this to about 3 or 4 other hangers. You can do however many you want. So I'm going to click on both of these, press Shift D, followed by X, and just going to bring this across to about here. And then just let's delete the keyframe. So if we go back to our timeline, click on our timeline, press A, followed by X to delete the keyframes. We'll now be set with a static pose. So we're going to create the same animation or a similar animation. Let's maybe press R and rotate it the other way. And then go to 150. And let's rotate it a little bit. That's cool. And then let's make another one. Make sure those keyframes are all deleted. This one can be very slight movement. And you can see them all moving there. In order to make them like a linear movement, we can just go to our keyframe, select all by pressing A, and then we're going to say interpolation mode, say linear. So just do that same thing to all of them. And then you'll see it'll be like a more consistent animation. Like so. And then we're going to add one more to the right here. Awesome. Okay, for our output settings, we're going to set the end frame to 150. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to export the animation of these hangers. So make sure to select all the hangers. Like so, don't select anything else. We're going to go File, Export, and then say Alembic. We're going to call this Animation, and say Selected Objects Only, and Export. Once that is deleted, we can save this and open up CLO3D now. So let's hit File, Save, and we can close that. Then let's open up CLO3D. So for CLO, I'm just going to show you how to make basic t-shirts. If you have my digital fashion starter pack and import those exact garments straight into CLO3D, I'll show you how to do that as well. So to import the animation, we're going to go File, Import Alembic, and we're going to add that Alembic animation we just exported. So let's open that up, say Add, okay. You'll see now in CLO that if you go to your animation and hit play, you'll see that they move quite quickly. It's just a sped up version. But that's your basic animation that's going to be animating your clothing. So let's go back to our simulation. I'm going to make a shirt for you. So the first thing we're going to do is go to our avatars and go male. Obviously you can choose female, and we can just drag and drop one of these straight in by saying add and okay. So this is going to be our model. We're going to create the garment off, which we're going to apply to our animation. So let's just create a shirt. I'm just going to run through this super quickly. If you want to check out all my other videos, I show exactly how to do a couple garments, and then I've also got a bunch of mockups which you can all use to apply to the same product. So let's create a symmetric pattern of this. Press N to merge them, and then we can copy and paste this. I normally do it straight over so that when we go into our 3D viewport, we can adjust this, bring those together, and we're going to sew them together pressing N and sew those together. And then we can hit fast GPU. If you don't have a GPU, you can just use the regular renderer. If it falls down, you can just select the garment like that and bring it up like so, and then just adjust it in the 3D viewport and hit simulate again, and voila. Now that we have our torso done, we can use B to merge our front and our back like so, and then we're going to go and use the edit curvature tool just to adjust these sleeves like that, and then we're going to bring the back up until we're happy. And you'll see when we hit simulate that it just fixes that. The front we can actually bring down a lot more, and go like that. Cool, then we're going to create the arms, so we can use the polygon tool, and I always like to just mirror my stuff just because it seems to work better. So let's create 1/4 of the sleeve, bring that across, say symmetric pattern, and then bring that to the side. And then we can also do the same thing, bring this to there. And then we're going to sew them together by pressing N and press B to merge. And then we can go to our top view, which is 5, and just rotate that. And then we can press 2, which is our front view, and rotate that. And just align it over our garment, over the arm of our avatar. And then with the end tool, we're going to sew the sleeve to the front and the sleeve to the back, and hit simulate, and it should fall down. Now this is a very tight fit at the moment, but we can adjust that now. So let's just make this sleeve a bit wider and press N to sew them together. Then for the torso, we're also just going to select both and drag it across to make it a bit looser. And we can adjust in the 3D window until we're happy with how it sits. And then I'm just going to adjust this garment a little bit again, and hit simulate. It's looking much better. Then we're going to copy and paste this on our right side and bring this towards our avatar and rotate, and just press 2 to get to our front view. And then we can sew this straight on, and then we can sew this straight on and hit simulate. Now we have a very basic t-shirt design. To fix this grayscale here, we can just click on back section of our shirt, go into our 3D viewport, say flip normal, and we should have our t-shirt like that. That's cool. It doesn't look the greatest, but it's just a simple way of creating this. You'll see in the final render, it still looks really cool. So from here, what we're going to do is we're just going to adjust the particle distance. So let's select all in the 2D pattern window and set this to about 8, and hit simulate. Should start to look a lot more realistic. We can now delete this avatar. So let's right click and say delete. We're going to select the shirt, go to our top view, which is 5, and we're just going to bring this over and try align it with one of our hangers. So let's do it with our far left hanger, bring it up and go to our top view and rotate like so. And then when we hit simulate, it should fall straight onto the hanger. So as you can see, when it's not on our avatar, the shirt looks really cool. That's kind of a basic on how to make the shirt. I'm going to import the rest of my garments from our fashion bundle straight in now. So let's go add project. You can go to the digital fashion starter pack, click on garments, and let's add a hoodie, open files, and let's say hoodie down, click open and add. Let's reposition this, and then go into our 3D viewport, say delete avatar, and just select this hoodie. And we're now going to reposition this in our 3D viewport window. Bring that up, go to our top view, adjust, go to our front view again, and once we're happy with that, we can hit simulate, and it should fall down nicely. Now with this hoodie in particular, I did add some points here, so I'm going to just remove that. You can go to your edit tact settings, click on the tact and delete it, and then you should be good. Let's add a long sleeve now, so we can go add project. We're going to go back to garments. Let's add our crew neck, open files, crew neck regular. You can add the oversize, whatever you want. Let's go okay. Reposition this in the 2D pattern window, and let's do the same thing again. So top view, let's bring it all the way over here. Let's rotate, bring it to this hanger, go to our front view and bring it up. And then let's delete the avatar. That looks good. Let's go to our top view and hit simulate. You can just keep repeating this until you are done, or you can make your own garments and just paste them over. Cool, that looks really good. So for this shirt, if you want to add some stitching to it and some extra detail, I'm just going to do that quickly as well. Let's add in the ribbing for the shirt. So let's click on the top of our shirt around the neckline. We're going to say offset internal line and set this to about 20 millimeters. Hit OK. And then we can say cut and sew. Then we're going to do the same thing for the sleeves. We're going to select the edge of our sleeves, offset internal line 20 millimeters, and hit OK. And then right click and say cut and sew. You see we've got some extra detail there. Then we're going to add some top stitching. So let's click on the top stitching tool, and we're just going to select around the areas that we want there to be stitching. You can see it's starting to add it in. I'm just going to add it all over here, like so, around the arms, sides, and bottom. And then make sure you repeat this on the other one. And then let's do that. Cool. Okay, so now that we're happy with how our garments are placed, we are just gonna, don't forget the bottom of this. So let's click on the bottom of the shirt and do internal 20. And let's create that ribbing line at the bottom. Cut and sew, go back to our sewing tool and just apply. Make sure it's cut on both sides. And cut and sew. Once we are happy with that, we're just going to apply this fabric one to all of our garments. So you can select in the 2D pattern window and hit apply or assign, and then we can go ahead and delete all of these. And then from here, let's click on the fabric tool. We're going to go all the way down to physical properties and say cotton terry cloth. I prefer this one a lot. So just makes it hang and like sits a lot better. So let's hit simulate, and you'll see that the fabric should like start to lift and just gain a little bit more life to it, like so. Once we're happy with that, we're now going to animate it. So let's go to our animation. You'll see that that animation has been deleted. So let's just click delete on our hangers, and we're going to import that Alembic file again. So let's go file, animation, import, say add. If for some reason your garments aren't aligned, this is probably because you were simulating them somewhere else on the timeline. So for this example, I did the exact same thing. So we're going to go back to our simulation, and we're just going to select and reposition these. Make sure you are on the first frame, just so that going forward you don't have any issues. So let's select, go to our top view, and just rotate and reposition everything. Before we animate this, we can go to our UV editor and just reset a UV to 2D arrangement by right clicking. And we now got to put each one of these shirts or hoodies or long sleeves into each block. So let's select them all, press shift and scale it down, and we can just start repositioning everything. So our shirt, bring down here, this is our left sleeve, this is our right sleeve, and then let's do the same thing for this. Just make sure you know where the front and the back is, because when we do add like branding and stuff to it, it could get confusing. Take the hoodie, adjust this. So you can just do this to all of them, and I'm going to speed this part up now so that we can get into the animation process. Okay, we're now going to go into animation. And we're going to set our simulation at the bottom left here to animation stable and just pump this up to 10. Make sure you're on the first frame and hit record. Now this can take some time depending on your PC, but as you can see, remaining time is around about 7 minutes for me. So I'm just going to render this out, and we can export our UVs and open everything up in Blender after this. Okay, once our animation has completed, we can go to our first frame and hit play just to see what it looks like. You can see there's some subtle movements going on, which is exactly what we need. So we can stop that, go to our first frame, and let's export our UV. So let's go back to our UV editor and just go to the top here. We're going to say bake textures, and let's select our path. I'm going to do it to where we've been working out of. We're going to call this hangers underscore and hit save, and then make sure all tiles is on as well as diffuse, and we can hit save and it will export that. Let's hit close and then go back to our simulation. We can go to file, export, and we're going to export the animation now. So let's select Alembic or Gowan. We can call this hangers, press save, and we're going to select thick, make sure it's on 30, and everything else is as is, and hit OK. Just a quick one, if you guys don't want to carry on following along with this tutorial and maybe want to save yourself a bunch of time, this product is available on my site, the 3D Mockup. Check out my previous tutorial to see how to use it. It's only available for $8, so make sure to check that out if you're not too keen on creating it yourself. Once it's done exporting, if you want to save this, I would highly suggest saving it without the Alembic animation in it. So we can just select the hangers and delete that, and we can go file, save as, project, and we're just going to call this hangers. So let's save that, hangers, and hit save. For some reason, CLO doesn't work too well with when Alembic files are inside of it, so I always save a version without, just in case for some reason it doesn't save it with the Alembic file the files are also a lot smaller when you do that. So we can close this now. We're going to open up Blender and carry on with our Blender scene. So once we've opened up our Blender scene, we can go to our first frame and we're going to say File, Import Alembic, and we're going to import the hangers that we just exported from CLO3D. When we import it, everything should be set up as is and all good to go ready. So if we hit play, it might not play back super quickly depending on your PC, but as you can see, the animation is good. Our first frame as well as our last frame, the hangers don't mess up, looks great, which is cool. So let's go to our preview window just to see what that looks like and hit preview so we can see with the materials. So the first thing you'll notice when in preview mode that there's no texturing, but with the shadows and stuff, it looks really nice. I'm really happy with how that looks. If we go to the end frame, you can see how the light's hitting the garments and looks pretty cool. Obviously, if you want to change your lighting up, you can do whatever you want, but I just went with this more contrasty look. From here, we're now going to add some color and shading to our garments. So let's drag this down. We can go to our shader editor and go down to materials on the right here and just add a new material. We're going to call this garments, and you can see now when we change the color here that is the correct material. We can just press Ctrl Z to undo that, and we're going to add in our UVs that we exported now. So let's go to our exported folder. So we have our 5 UVs here. We're going to open these up in Photoshop to edit them. So let's right click on the first one, say open with Photoshop. You can edit these in Photopea as well if you want, but I'm going to be using Photoshop. Once we have that first one open, we can select the rest and just drag and drop them into Photoshop. So this is where we're going to add our branding. I'm going to be using some Vitamins branding. So for the hoodie, which is the one with the hood, you can see it in the UV. I'm going to drag and drop this logo straight into Photoshop and just reposition this on the hoodie. I'm going to have it on the front as well as the back. So you can press Ctrl C and Ctrl V to paste that in. Position that about there. And then I'm going to create a black rectangle. So click the rectangle tool and just drag and drop this over the top layer. We can go down to a rectangle and say create clipping mask, and this will make everything black. Just to confirm it is the same color, we're going to use the color picker tool to select that and hit OK, and let's save this as is. So that's going to be our hoodie design. Let's do the same thing for our shirts. So I'm going to do the same thing. It's a black shirt. We're going to drag and drop this logo straight in. I'm just going to do it for the front. So let's create that rectangle, create a clipping mask for our layer 1, and then just make sure that it's the same color and hit save as is. Okay, for this shirt we're going to do a black branding. We can put that there. I'm going to make this eggshell, so let's drop that rectangle tool, change this to an eggshell color, create a clipping mask and hit save as, hit OK. And then this is our long sleeve. Let's put this logo on the sleeves like that. Copy and paste it over, make it minus 90 degrees to flip it, put that there, and then let's just drag and drop one more, put it on the front like so. And we're going to create that rectangle tool, set it to eggshell color, and create a clipping mask and hit save. And then let's do the same thing for the first one. Let's keep this one black as well, but I'm going to make this logo a lot bigger like that. And we can make this one a different color. So we're going to use a rectangle tool, make this famous yellow, and hit save as, save. So when doing the UVs, make sure that it's 1001, 1002. Keep it the same file names for the Photoshop files. If you change these names when you bring it into Blender, it's not going to work the correct way. So let's go into Blender. We're going to just drag and drop this first one, which is 1001. We're going to drag and drop it straight into Blender, connect it to the base color, and you'll see it'll be a bit buggy at first, but to fix this, we're going to say UDIM tiles, and it should automatically fix everything. You can see we now have all the updated colors and everything is looking good. So one thing you'll notice is that all our stitching is now yellow. This is because our stitching is actually in our first Photoshop file. So if you see down on the bottom here, this is the stitching for all of our garments. So if we change the color of this, let's change it to a black. So if we create another rectangle tool and change this to black and hit save and then update the blender, it should fix everything. So this is going to be change the preview mode, and then when we update it, we should get the correct color. You can see now all the stitching has changed to black. So for this long sleeve, I'm also going to put some branding on the back. So let's go back into Photoshop, look for the long sleeve, and let's put this logo at the back as well. Same place, hit file, save, and just update that preview again so we have what we're looking for. So now that that's all been done, we are going to just add some material to our hangers. So for the hanger, I'm actually going to use this material pack by CLO3D. You can check out his channel. So these are some real-time materials. So I'm going to add a metal. So we look for metal, make this like a dented metal and say add. That will update that. You can obviously create your own. There's a bunch of tutorials on how to make materials. Or if you want, you can just change the base color for each thing. But I'm just going to be doing that. You'll see that it automatically will update once it's been applied. Just like that, we now have that dented metal look. And then for the floor, I'm going to be also using Ducky's pack. I'm going to be using our wood UV. We're going to be using the wooden floor. So let's add that in, and you'll see that it's automatically applied. For the background, I'm just going to create a white wall, so we can add a new material and say white, keep it as is. I think I like it as is. I don't want it to be too detailed or anything like that. So now what we can do is just add some texturing to our garments. So let's go into our shader editor again. For texturing the clothes, I do like to use VMod, but if you want to get a free download, you can check out my FAQ in my Discord. Go to this texture link and open that up. It should automatically download a file for you, which will have all textures in it that I do use regularly. So let's bring that in, save that, click save, and then let's open up this texture file. You should see a normal and a roughness map. So with these, we're going to drag and drop these into Blender. So let's drag the normal map in and the roughness map. For the normal map, we're going to press Shift A followed by normal map to add that in, and then connect color to color and normal to normal. And then for the roughness, we can just connect color straight to roughness. You'll see that the textures don't look great at first, but if we change the color space to non-color, you'll see a big improvement. And then we just need to scale it so that it looks more realistic. So the next thing we can do is press Shift A in the shader editor and add a mapping node as well as a texture coordinate node. And then last but not least is the value node. This helps us scale evenly. So we're going to connect value to scale, UV to vector, and then vector to vector and vector to vector. You'll see that it goes away straight away, but if we set it to 1, it comes back. And then we can set it to about 20, and then you should get that more realistic look. I like around about 25, looks good. And then make sure your normal map is set to UV just so that everything is aligned. And just like that, you got your realistic look. Okay, we are almost done. For those that want to add in a tree. For some tree animation, I'm going to be using an add-on called Sampling Tree. It is an add-on in Blender. You don't have to download anything. So if you go up to Edit Preferences, go to Add-ons and type in Sapling Tree. It should be there automatically. You can just click Add to add it. And then what we can do to add this is just press Add and go to your curves and go Sapling Tree and then add it on. Make sure you don't do any changes once you've clicked add. You must go to your sapling and just open up this little section at the bottom. First thing we're going to do is go to our branch splitting. I like to set my base split to about a 1, and then we go to leaves. We're going to say show leaves, and we're going to set this to about 50. If you want different trees and stuff, you can go back to geometry and just change you can go to your random seed and just click up like this and it will start adding different ones. So let's stick with number 2. Then for armature, this is to animate. We can select both of those and then we can go to animation, click armature animation and leaf animation. For animation speed, you can set it to 1. For overall wind speed, let's set this down to about 1.5. I find that 1 is a little bit too strong, especially for shadows and contrast. So we're going to reposition this. We must just make sure we select everything in this tree arm layer like so, and then we can press G and just bring it out to our window, put it closer Well, outside obviously, because it's supposed to look more realistic. So this is, right now, this is all about like fine tuning really, just to see what works best. So I'm just going to scale this down a little bit. Once you're happy with your positioning, we can change the light to a spotlight, and you'll see that the shadows come right in. If we change the radius and just bring it up a bit, you'll start getting that bokeh that we're looking for. I'm going to adjust this light a little bit and bring it around like so. And let's bring up, by pressing shift, let's bring up these shadows a bit until we're happy. I'm also going to scale this wall to make the windows a little bit bigger. And just like that, we should have something we like. If we reposition it. This is obviously all up to you, how you visually want this to look. So use your own discretion here. I'm going to select this tree again and just bring it down a bit. Once you're happy with that, we can reveal the rug particles. So let's click on the rug and let's apply that. And then we can now do the video animation. So the first thing we want to do is set your first frame up. So let's click on the camera. We can press G on our keyboard followed by Y to set our first frame, and then our last frame is going to be at 150. So we can press G followed by Y and just bring the camera forward until we're happy with that end frame. And I'm going to press G followed by Z, and that's going to be our last frame. And then if we go to our middle, we can kind of see how the animation is looking from a camera movement perspective. Pretty happy with that. Now to make our movement more consistent, we can select the keyframes again, press A and set it up to linear. This will create that more consistently smooth animation. Once we are done with that and we are happy, we can just save this and we can do our render settings. So for output settings, you can set it to whatever you want. This is going to be like for HD, so 1920 by 1080. Click render region just to help with rendering. Our frame range, because we're only animating that section, is going to be from 1 to 150. And then our output, we're going to select our desktop or wherever you want to render this out to, say new folder, renders. Click on that and let's call this render 1 and hit accept. And then if you want to do video output, you can change your file format to FFmpeg video and go down to this little preset section at the bottom here and change it to H264 in MP4, and that will export your video. But note, when you do export video, if it crashes, you have to restart the whole animation again. So I normally do PNG. So I'm going to change that to PNG. And then we can go up to the top right, say file, render animation, and we'll start rendering out your animation. Now, if you want to do a test to see how long your render animation is going to take, you can just render one image and then times it by however many frames you're doing. So I'm going to be doing 150 frames. So if it's 1 minute a frame, it's going to take obviously 150 minutes to render out that complete animation. For our renderer, we must just make sure we're on cycles, GPU compute, and supported. We're going to go open up your renderer and set your max samples to 128, which we did earlier. Make sure nothing else is selected. This is probably your best settings to work off, and make sure denoise is selected. Let's render one image just to see how long that's going to take. I am using OBS in the background, so it does take a lot of your GPU. So my times would be faster without that on, obviously. So that took me about a minute to render. As you can see, it looks really cool. I'm happy with how that looks. Yeah, if you want to render out the full thing, it's going to take about 150 minutes depending on your PC specs. I have a 4080, a Ryzen 9, and 128 gigs of RAM, as well as 3 terabytes of SSD storage. I have noticed here the rug is a little bit too high. So let's just fix that a bit. So if we click on our rug, we can go down to our preview window at the bottom here, and we can go to edit mode, and you can automatically see when you go to your front view, let's go over here, that there are some sections that are higher than other parts. So let's go back to our object just so that we can see the actual particles, and we can press G followed by Z and just see if we can bring this down a bit without affecting the render too much. Does look a little bit better, but the best case is normally just to go into your edit mode. You can see now it's like sunken into the floor. So if we select all by pressing A and then press G to bring that up. We can go there and we can just start to move this around using G, as well as our proportional editor. When you go back into our object mode, we can now see that it's been updated and it's looking a lot better. Once this is rendered out, you should get something like this. I hope this video has helped you guys a lot. If you guys did appreciate this video, please make sure to drop a like, comment, and sub if you're new here, and don't forget to turn the notification bell on. If you do need any help, make sure to join the Discord. And once again, if you don't want to go through this whole process, the product is available as a 3D mockup on my store. Check out my previous video to see how you can create it using the 3D mockup. Otherwise, follow along with this video. Appreciate the support as always, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.